Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to embark on a journey like no other. Welcome to the Glum Lot Podcast,
your go-to destination for a unique blend of recovery and discovery.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Mark. And in this podcast, we will endeavor to create a safe and uplifting space for our guests and listeners to share their stories with sincerity and a touch of humor.
Remember, we are not a Glum Lot. The Glum Lot Podcast is more than just a source of entertainment. It's a beacon of hope, proving that even in the darkest moments, recovery is possible. Every story we share carries the power to inspire positive change.
So buckle up, get ready to listen, and join us in discovering the strength that lies within every individual's journey. This is the Glum Lot Podcast, where humor meets hope. All right, Brett, welcome to episode number 87 of the Glum Lot Podcast.
Hi.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
It also feels good to be out from underneath the snow this morning. Holy cow.
Yeah, we didn't get a lot of snow.
Got about 8 inches of snow last night.
Yep. Just for the listener, where we live up in the Great White North, we average 10 feet of snow a year.
Yep.
So it's amazing that some of our guests can even get here. Sometimes it's by dog sled.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you have a topic? Oh, I almost forgot to remind myself to remind the viewers that if they want to join our Facebook page, it would be just a great thing in their life.
And if you're viewing me, I'm really concerned right now.
But, did I say viewers?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, boy. Listeners.
See, I have to be on top of those things I can pick on you instantly.
I appreciate that.
So we're going to talk about the listeners.
But anyways, the Glum Lot Facebook page on Facebook, obviously. And if you would like to contact us, the Glum Lot Podcast at gmail.com. And we're always looking for new guests. We're always looking for comments, criticisms that are constructive.
That's
not
correct.
Like, you guys
don't be a troll.
Yeah, no trolling. So, do you have a topic for our little discussion?
I do.
Yeah, what do you got?
Yeah, it's a tough one actually.
Oh, boy.
We say we do it a lot, but do we?
What's that?
Forgiveness.
Yeah.
Well, that goes right along with the R word.
Here's
I know
the thing
that.
about it. Forgiveness can be very hard, but it is its own reward because it allows you to move on. And if you don't forgive, you are moving towards a resentment, which I have heard
somewhere
is a luxury alcoholics cannot afford.
Nor anybody, to be honest with you.
Yeah, true.
So, yeah, I mean, it's something that's come up again recently for me with, as life progresses, these little things come back up. And, a part of it is forgiving myself for not being able to forgive right away either, but not letting that be an excuse. So, just some history. Mostly it's around my upbringing and, some of the things I should just be letting go of and moving on with my life. I catch myself all the time prefacing conversations with some of my insecurities and stuff like that. And if I could just let some of the stuff go and not constantly remind myself of those things that cause those insecurities, I'd be living a much better life.
Yeah. You know what my mother used to say? She used to call it stuck in your craw.
Right.
Yeah. That's really stuck in your craw. Like,
what is the craw?
What's a craw, Mom?
It's like down the tubes.
Where
are the tubes?
Sounds dirty.
Yeah.
Stuck in my craw.
But, yeah, it's exactly right. And, sometimes it can dictate my path for the day, and that's no good.
Yeah.
No good at all.
And it always seems, I've never had anything like super positive get stuck in my craw. Only negative things.
Of course, of course.
That damn craw.
Yeah,
I'm going to have a craw removal.
They're the drama ones, and we as humans love drama.
And so, that's what the steps are for, right?
Correct.
We're making amends. And
talking to another alcoholic about it.
Yeah, and trying to navigate our way through our own thinking so that we can be happy, joyous, and free. And part of that is the practice of forgiveness. And it usually comes with a real good conscious contact with our higher power asking for help, because it's not easy to do.
No.
Our ego just wants to hang on.
Oh, heck yeah. Anything that we can use to prove,
I have a sliding scale in my life, and on one end of it is my ego, and on the other end of it is my higher power.
Ooh, that's good visual.
And you can start in the middle, but I always want to I'm always trying to push towards the higher power end.
Yeah.
But my ego is very strong. It's got a good grip on me and always will, and it keeps pulling.
It does.
And all it takes is that little ego ding, and my ego just lights right up.
That's right.
You son of a bitch!
And all of a sudden, the red light with tilt on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
So,
Yeah, good.
anyways, our guest today comes to us by way of
Recommendations. Yeah.
too, I believe.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff.
So, I mean, she must be good.
Hey.
So let's not make her wait.
Right.
Okay,
And
she's
she
waited long
did
enough.
arrive on Dog Sled as well.
She did, yeah. So let's welcome Stephanie.
Stephanie.
Welcome to the podcast, Stephanie.
Hey, Stephanie.
Thank you.
So we'd like to start with your sobriety date, if you don't mind.
It's 11/23/2015.
Nice.
11/23/20. So you got a lot of years.
Yeah,
in.
we're coming up
Yeah.
on 10 this year.
I am.
The big DAs.
Nice,
No.
nice.
It's nice.
And we like to start with your first experiences with drugs and or alcohol coming up when you were a youth.
Yeah, like all the details.
Okay. Well, I used to steal sips of my father's beer when I was young, but my first drunk was when I was 12, actually, at my brother's wedding, of all things.
Not bad.
Great, it's open bar, so why not? Right?
Right? And nobody's really paying attention.
You got any idea?
How'd you get it, though? Did you just ask?
So one of his groomsmen, while we were taking pictures, after the ceremony, before the reception,
Right.
we went and we took pictures, and he's like, "Hey, do you want a beer?" And I'm like, "Sure."
Hit 12.
Yeah, 12, and it was the worst beer. It was Heineken,
Very
Oh, a
strong.
little
Like,
skunky, too.
skunky tasting, but I was like, "Oh, this is great," And then when we got to the reception, they're like, "What do you want to drink?" And I'm like,
Yes.
"Something with alcohol."
I will, thank you.
So what
I
did,
was like, what can I drink? And I got like a vodka and cranberry or
Oh,
something.
man, you already knew.
Yeah.
So what did you said, this is great. What was great?
So the feeling, like right off the bat, like I just felt like, oh, this is cool. Like this is what the cool kids do, right?
Yeah, you've arrived.
Yeah, like, oh, they want me to drink. Like, oh, this is
So it's really it was the
cool.
effect.
Yes,
Yeah.
How about physically?
physically, it was a little like, oh, okay, I'm feeling a little woozy after
Yeah,
a couple,
yeah.
but I enjoyed, like, it brought me out of my shell.
So you had a shell.
Yes. Yeah, I was made fun of for many years. I stutter, so my stutter was like ridiculed for
Yeah.
a long time in school. So it just was like an escape for me. Like it made me not think about my stutter and kind of made my stutter kind of disappear a little
Sure,
bit too.
sure.
Isn't that interesting?
Isn't it, though?
I stuttered too I still stutter sometimes when I'm tired. But when I was
Yeah.
young, I did. And people always told me that it's because my mind moves faster than my
There it
mouth
is.
can.
Yeah.
That it was a sign of intelligence.
Yes.
And I was like,
Okay.
and when I was a kid, occasionally my parents would let me stay up late and watch Johnny Carson.
Okay.
And he would have on Mel Tillis. Are you familiar with Mel
Yes.
Tillis, the country
Yes.
singer, who stuttered so bad?
So bad.
But
And when-
singing,
But when he sang, he did not stutter. And I'm like, that is really, there's something
Yeah.
there to be examined. You know what I mean? But drinking actually slowed yours down, right?
It did.
Like it relaxed your brain.
and thinking
Yeah.
about it. Right?
And
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about
You
it.
don't
So
have that
Self-consciousness.
I know sometimes social pressure
Yeah,
can bring on
man.
a stutter too.
yes. Oh, when I'm nervous
Yep.
or.
So so you're a kid. You got that. You're being bullied a little bit because of your thing and because of your stutter, and then you get this new feeling, and
Yeah.
it's like, who gives a shit?
Mm.
I just
Right.
like this. I like being here.
Right.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, like this is something new, but it's like it's cool, you know? Like
Yeah.
So did you chase that?
So I did not drink much when I was in high school. I went to a couple parties, had some beer. My parents had a fridge in the basement, so I would steal a beer every now and then. when, mostly when they were arguing and I just wanted to escape that.
Yeah.
So I would steal a beer now and then, and as long as you put a new beer back where you took the old beer from, my father didn't he
Rotating
wasn't
the inventory.
counting them.
Yeah. I used to.
You got to front the shelves.
Listen to how devious I was when I was a kid.
Ooh, I can't wait.
There was two things I used to do. I used to steal the beer, and I would rearrange the beer. So I would take one from the back, put it up front, so it was a nice even number up front.
Yeah.
Figuring he's not going to look any further than that.
Right.
But the real devious thing I did was with cigarettes, when I stole cigarettes. So my parents, they used to buy cartons of cigarettes. Back then, cigarettes were 50 cents a pack. Carton was $5, which, comparatively today was cheap. But I would steal packs, and I would take them from the pack, and then I would open up the bottom, and I would shove them back so it was even on top, and then I would seal the bottom back up with some tape, like backwards, like a circle tape, so they couldn't see it.
Yeah.
But the real bad part was, I would sometimes, when they got down low, I would open a pack from the bottom, and take a cigarette or two out, and push them all up, and then seal the bottom back up of the pack. And I wondered if they ever opened up the pack and go, what the hell?
Oh my God!
Oh my
There
God,
isn't
that's
20
funny.
cigarettes in there. What a manufacturing,
Oh, right.
Meanwhile, it's your
I think there's
freaking
a mouse.
It's your 12-year-old kid who you think is an angel.
Right.
That's out in back of the house smoking a cigarette
Steaming
with a beer in
and-
his hand. Yeah, God. And that deviousness thing is part of our thing, what I mean?
Yeah.
We like to sneak.
Yep.
We like to get away with something, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you learned about how to do that.
Yeah, I did. I was a good kid growing up. I heard stories of my brother, being drunk for his Spanish final and my mom having to come pick him up and
Hola.
Yeah.
so my mom was very in tune with if I
can
lie
smell it.
to go to a party, if I sneak one and
Man, he was ruining it for you.
right, he
How
did.
dare you.
That first kid.
Yeah.
The only thing is, though, usually after the first kid, the parents are a little more lenient
Maybe.
because they've already had it out with the first kid. It didn't work, and they're like, whatever.
Maybe.
Yeah, not so much
Yeah.
in my case.
Oh, mine were. So you're growing up. You're in high school. You're not really drinking that much, right?
No, went to a couple parties,
Yeah.
When does it kick back in?
when I went to college.
Yep.
So I went to college and I had a sense of freedom and I ran with it.
And you went away to live on
I
campus.
did,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah,
So the guardrails are down.
they're down. And that I went to college and I was going to run cross country.
Okay.
So I was on the cross country team, but I ended up quitting / getting kicked off for alcohol and drugs, but mostly alcohol. So I went crazy at the parties. I was drinking guys under the table. I was drinking and I loved how I felt, and I loved that sense of belonging. Oh, people are liking me. People are
Yeah, and you weren't living under the rules and regulations of another person. You were free.
I was. It was my first taste of freedom, and I ran with it.
Did they dorm you up with the other cross country people?
So my first roommate was on the team. Yes. She was actually a Mennonite.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yes. So it was she never grew up drinking, never, So it was her first taste of freedom as well, but she did not run with it like I did.
She didn't
Her
embrace
morals
it.
kicked in.
Yes.
So now, when you were out there, drinking heavy, any other girls from the cross country team?
No.
So you were kind of out of your element, and as far as the team goes, you were
Yeah.
the outlier.
Yes, I was.
Clearly, it was visible.
So what
Yeah.
did they pull you aside and go, look, this is not working out?
So they actually sent me to an alcohol counselor.
Damn, right on campus.
Pretty apparent then, huh?
Right.
Uh-huh.
So they were like...
So instead of passing the baton, you were passing like a bottle
Yeah.
in the race, right?
Exactly.
And then you're like, what? I can't have a drink when I'm running? I mean, come on.
Just trying to share.
I know. I shared. I was
Right.
nice.
That's right.
Yeah. So you go to this counselor. They start asking you some questions, right?
Yes.
Are you evasive or are you honest?
I told them what I thought they wanted to
Yeah.
hear.
I partied
You know.
once in a
That
while.
too.
I'm a
I
college
was
kid.
like, I don't want to be here. I don't have a problem. And even if I do, like, so what?
Yeah, none of your business. I'm doing
Right.
fine.
Yeah.
So I basically told them what they wanted to hear. And I think I had only 2 or 3 sessions with them. Not too many.
Did you convince them?
I think I did because they're like, oh, I think you're good,
Yeah. At the time,
Situational.
At the time, to you, did your drinking seem abnormal at all, or did it seem like it fit right in with everybody what everybody else is doing?
I think at first it seemed like I fit in with everybody else.
Yeah.
But as I went along in my college career, it definitely seemed like, oh, I'm drinking more than other people, But my friends were heavy drinkers, so
Yeah.
it wasn't like I stood out like a sore thumb.
So were these friends of yours doing that, and that's why they became friends?
I think so.
Right. We say we always find our people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're drinking like we drink, you don't want to hang out with somebody who has one drink and then that's it. You want to hang out with people that are doing what you're doing.
Exactly.
So you're like, let's get fucked up.
Right.
And you go out and get the necessary.
Yeah, it wasn't
supplies.
the cross-country team still hanging out, right?
No.
They already ran away.
Right.
I see what you did there.
I'm on fire
They
today.
ran all the way across
This coffee
the
Mark
country.
gave me is unbelievable.
So, do you finish college?
So I ended up, I went to a 2-year school. So I graduated from that school and then I went on to a 4-year school.
Wow, so you still were able to get through it.
Yes, with some extra years added on.
Yeah.
A
Right.
little
The
extra
whole time you were
time.
drinking, that was all adding up to the extra time you'd have to spend.
So when I got alcohol poisoning my first year of college.
Ooh, damn.
I ended up seeing a kid that I was kind of seeing kiss somebody else.
Oh, no.
And that set my whole world,
Oh, yeah, of course.
on fire. So I'm like, I want a funnel. Let me funnel the Wapatulas.
Oh,
You went there.
yeah, we've talked about Wapatula. I called it Wapatuli. I guess you were right, Mark. It's Wapatula.
Oh, Brett, believe me, I know my alcohol.
Yes. So did you funnel
I
it?
funneled it
Yeah.
more than once.
Oh my
and
God.
The cop showed up at this house party, this apartment party, and my friends are climbing out the bedroom window. And they're like, come on. And I make it halfway out the window and pass out.
Oh.
Shit.
Oh, that looks like a Halloween scene.
And right. And they dragged me the rest of the way out the window and carried me and said, do you know where you live? And I'm like,
Holy shit, this is like one of my
I
college
don't know. And my roommate was out on the porch. And they were like, my friends were like, do you know where she lives? And my roommate was like, she lives here. And they carry me upstairs.
They put you back in the window.
Stuff her back in.
They carry me upstairs and put me in bed. And when I went to bed, I said, I'm having a hard time breathing. So they ended up calling
You were
911.
depressed enough by the alcohol that
Yeah.
that was coming in.
Yeah.
That's
So
scary.
you're in the hospital. Did they say anything like, "Holy shit, you got to take care of this problem"?
They did not. They basically put IVs in me, sobered me up,
charcoal briquettes.
Yeah, I don't even know.
Ugh.
I don't think I had my stomach pumped. They didn't say, you had your stomach pumped, but I also didn't have the clothes on that I had
Arrived in,
on because
yeah.
I had puked all over them,
Oh,
apparently.
sure.
So I don't really know. I don't remember much in the hospital. I just remember them like discharging me and my friends being in the waiting room.
Did your parents catch wind of all this?
So I called my mom
before
the school could call her because I knew
the worst. God.
I knew it would be worse if I didn't tell her myself.
Of course.
So I called her that morning, and I was, still under the effects of the alcohol. I was, still kind of drunk and woozy, and she was so disappointed. When they say I'm disappointed in you,
please just be pissed off. Don't be disappointed.
I got the whole. Your entire family's disowning you. You've tarnished our name. All that stuff.
Yeah,
it's not good. It's not fun.
Not good.
Now, were there any, during this time, were there any drugs involved in your partying?
So, yes. Not early on. Well, early on was pot.
Yep.
But then I tried hardcore drugs, and I was actually dating somebody that dealt cocaine.
Mm.
So I got into cocaine, and I found that I could drink more.
You're up for a longer party with it.
Yes.
A little bit of Tootski, right?
Tootski.
I could drink more, and I would remember more.
Oh. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes not.
Yeah.
I don't want to remember. Yeah. So was that a problem too?
So it was getting to be a problem. I had lost a lot of weight. I was doing it every day, pretty much multiple times a day, And then one night we had a really big party in our apartment complex. There's 6 apartments, and the 2 lower apartments were like open door, you could go back and forth. And I had done, a couple lines that night, was drinking, was smoking pot as well. Didn't know that they were putting the cocaine in with the pot.
So you were smoking a little
extra,
smoking a little coke with your weed?
Yes, yeah. I did not know this. And so I was so high, and I was like, I prayed to the God that I didn't even know if I believed in to get me through this night, and then I would never touch it again, and I haven't touched it since.
So that was a strong enough experience for that.
Yeah,
that's good. That's crazy.
That happened to me with crystal meth.
Oh,
I kind of did it. It just happened to be there, and I was supposed to get share a gram of coke with somebody. And they came back to the party, and they were like, yeah, the guy didn't have any coke, but I did buy this gram of crystal meth. I'm like, I don't even know what that is.
Crystals, that sounds pretty.
Yeah, and so we ended up doing the whole gram, and it was a really fucking bad experience. It wasn't bad while I was experiencing the speed, but when I crashed, it was like a 3-hour-long panic attack.
Oh, my God.
And the only way I made it out of there alive was I started drinking more heavily, and it calmed me down. And then I had like a 3 or 4 day hangover. And I'm like, I will never. That's a terrible thing.
Oh, my God.
Terrible drug. Never want to do that shit.
So let's be clear. You never did cocaine again.
I never did cocaine again.
But there was this common denominator that still existed, right? You didn't quit the other.
No.
Right.
No. I still smoked pot. I tried mushrooms. Mm-hmm. Did not have a good experience with that. I ended up beating up the kid that I was seeing at the time. I was hitting him, and we went to sleep that night, and I woke up in the morning. I'm like, why do you have bruises on you? And he's like, because you hit me last night. And I'm like, oh my God. So I never touched those again.
Yeah.
It unleashed the beast.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
not good.
I like a lot of people I know, from talking in meetings, you're in that element of people that drink like you, and there's always drugs around.
Yes.
And most of us will do them, but it's not really what we're there for. They're like ancillary type of experiences, but we're really there for the booze.
Yeah.
But alcohol is king.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I definitely, when I was doing the other drugs, it was because I could stay up longer and drink more. And, it was helping me to drink more.
Yeah. Now, did you get through the 4-year degree?
I did.
Wow.
When I was my second year at the 4-year school, would have been the year that I was supposed to graduate, but I was on the Taekwondo team, like the club team, and we went to Buffalo for a competition.
Mm-hmm.
And we were in a Taekwondo school the night before practicing in Buffalo in the Orchard Park area.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Sorry.
And I was involved in a deadly car accident.
Oh.
So we took a caravan of cars, like I think 5 or 6 different people driving the cars, 4 people in each car. And we had finished the practice. We came out. We were going to go to one of the instructors' parents' house, and stay overnight there. And we were the second car out of the parking lot. And it's 55 mile an hour, 2-lane going both ways. Mm-hmm. And there was no stoplight at the time. There is now coming out of the parking lot, but there was not at the time. And we got hit on the driver's side, pushed into oncoming traffic, and hit on my side. I was the front seat passenger. And the driver of my car, one of my close friends, died on impact.
Holy shit.
Christ.
And no alcohol was involved.
No alcohol was involved in this. And I ended up with a brain injury, a TBI.
Yeah.
And so I had to withdraw from that year of school.
Sure.
Or that semester of school, I should say. And then I was home recovering, had to do some recovery, had to go to OT, had to get,
Let alone the trauma.
let alone the trauma. I could not go to the funeral. My father ended up going to the funeral because, me and my mom couldn't go because I was still in the hospital. And I don't remember a whole lot of my time home recovering. But I did go back to school the following semester. When I was home recovering, I didn't drink. I was focused on, recovering in my brain and, but when I got back to school, I picked up basically right where I left off.
So it sounds like you were like one of what they call the heavy drinker, right? Maybe at this point, you drank a lot, you partied, did a lot of that, but did it ever progress to?
So while I was home recovering, like I said, I didn't touch it. I went back to school. I was a heavy drinker again, When I graduated school and was out living on my own
in the world
is definitely the first time when I was like, okay, I'm home alone, I'm drinking. I'm, drinking every night to feel the effect of it, not because I just, I didn't need it, but I thought I needed it, So I got to the point where I was drinking and didn't want to be drinking anymore.
Yep.
But you still drank.
But I still drank. And I literally would drink, pass out. If I woke up again, I'd take a swig of,
I did the same thing.
Whiskey or whatever I was drinking and pass back out.
Yeah.
And then I would go to work in the morning thinking, everything's normal,
Right. It's still manageable in your mind.
Yes. But I got to the point where I was throwing up in the bathroom next to my office every morning. And my office mate was like, Steph, are you okay? Like, you should get looked
This
at by
ain't a
a
bug.
doctor, right?
Yeah.
Like, something's going on. And I didn't let him know that, I was drinking.
Of course not.
And I had a trainer at the time. I still have him to this day. That's a good friend of mine. I'm friends with him and his wife. And, he has a father-in-law in the program. And so he knew I was drinking a lot, and pretty much every night, and would suggest, that I talk to his father-in-law and maybe go to a meeting. And I was like, F you, leave me alone.
So you are not receptive.
No,
Yeah.
not at
How
first.
dare you classify me like that?
Right. Like, how dare you think
don't
that?
know me.
Right. I
I'm
have a
an
job. I have a
alcoholic.
car. Get away from me. I'm fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had
Puke, so what?
exactly. I had a house, a car, a job. I was like, there's no way, And then one night, I was drinking, and I'm like, I don't want to drink right now. Like, why am I drinking this? I don't want to drink. And I literally broke down in
Yep.
tears and prayed to the God again that I didn't know if I believed in to help me.
Yeah. And when you reach that point, it is because you can only deny it for so long.
Yes.
It's just soul crushing. You're
It
like,
is.
I don't want to drink, but I have no choice.
My body demands
And you realize that,
Right.
and you don't realize it at the time, but you are powerless over alcohol.
Right.
Yeah. And then those of us that are fortunate, because I had the same experience you did, we say something to the universe, and then somehow it gives us the opportunity to make a move.
Yes.
Some people do, some people don't. I was lucky I did.
Yes.
You did too, right?
I did too.
it. So you made a move.
I did. I went back to my trainer the next morning because we had a session, and I was like, okay, I'm ready,
He's like, I told you.
And he's like, well, first you need to tell your parents. And I was like, are you kidding me?
How old are you at this point?
20. No, at that point, I was 34.
Okay. So do you think your parents knew anyway?
So they knew that I drank, and they would make little comments like, oh, I see that your empties are filling up again. Like, maybe you shouldn't be drinking so much. Maybe you should slow down. My mom was a child of an alcoholic.
Oh, so she's really aware.
She was aware, knew signs, and,
Yeah.
So that night I went to my first meeting. I went out in DeWitt somewhere because I was like, I don't want to go to Syracuse. What if I see somebody I know,
Yeah, so you went to a meeting that was far from your home base.
Exactly.
Because for the anonymity aspect.
Yes.
Because at that point, you're still embarrassed.
Right.
And so at this first meeting, do you raise your hand and say, this is my first meeting?
So I did.
Yeah.
And there was at least one other person there for their first meeting as well.
Oh, you got off
man.
easy.
So I was not the only one.
Bonus.
But this
Who raised their
lady-
hand first?
I think they did. I think they did. And then I said, well, okay.
Might as well.
Yeah, me too.
Let them start it.
And then this older lady who, she was, not old, but
Older than you.
older than me, shared her story. And I was like,
Damn.
how does she know about me? Like, why is she telling my story?
Yeah, you had the same experience.
I did. Like, I could relate to her. And I ended up in tears, of course, first meeting.
Was there a big relief?
There was. At the end of the meeting, they said, come up, we'll give you a book. So I got a big book at my first meeting. And I did not really stay after to talk to somebody. Another young person, like, was like, hey, you know, and talked to me. And then I made a plan with her to go to my next meeting.
Because that was the most important one.
It was. And then we went to that meeting, and then we went to another one the next day together, and she ended up being my first sponsor.
Oh.
So she had a couple years under her belt, you know, but had gone through the steps and was, you know, willing to help me through the steps. And she was a young lady. She was younger than me. She was in her 20s when she came in the rooms, you know. But I felt a connection, you know, and she was big into church, and I wasn't so sure, you know, because after my accident, I had gotten very angry with God and, you know, very like, why did you take my friend away? Why did you? You know, and before I came into the rooms, I had lost another friend. I lost a best friend in childbirth. And it's been 10 years now since then, but that again catapulted my drinking more. And because I had stopped for 2 months, you know, trying it on my own, of course. And of course, you know, I ended up drinking again. But my friend who died in childbirth had gotten angry at me at a concert that we went to one time and was like, I don't know why you have to drink how you drink. And so I think like me getting sober after her death was like me saying, okay, like I finally realized that it's a problem and I'm going to do something before I end up dead. You know, I didn't have doctors saying, you know, my liver was failing or anything, but I knew that if I kept on the path I was on, it wasn't going to end good.
Sure.
Yeah. And, you know, you go to those early meetings, those first meetings, and you hear, and they share in the rooms.
Yeah.
And you figure out for yourself that we are sharing a common experience.
Yeah.
We're here for a common problem, you know?
Exactly.
And these people are sober. They have the solution. You're like, so they're offering you have this common problem. They're offering you this common solution. Can I participate in this? Can I do this? And you get that little bit of sliver of hope. And you're like, I think I can do this. I just don't know what to do exactly. And that's where sponsorship and all that stuff comes in the big book.
Exactly.
And so you're following this. And you and your sponsor start working the steps?
So we started working the steps pretty much right away, you know. And she had taken me to one of her church services, you know. And I learned that God didn't have to be that punishing God that I grew up with. You know, he wasn't that punishing God that I grew up with. Like I could find I could have a spiritual experience with a God that wasn't punishing.
Is that where you reach steps 2 and 3?
So yes.
Yeah.
Yep. That is definitely where I took 2 and 3.
It's so funny because I had something similar. You know, I had the same thoughts of the punishing God, and I went to a church service as well. And I found out there it's the humans that turn it into a punishing God because it's their way to control you or be better than you, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what we hear from the human. But when you really dig in, and if you've got the right church or the right pastor or whatever that's teaching the right stuff and just talking about the actual gospel, that was a big deal. I learned a way different God than I experienced as well. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, I went to church school when I was growing up. So, like, you hear, like, oh, you do bad things, God's going to punish you
That's
for
right.
them.
And if you get just past that halfway mark, you're going to head south.
Right.
Right, and so you grow up with this thought of whatever spiritual feelings you have, you better watch out because they're glaring at you from on high.
Yeah,
and it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it's what kind of a relationship am I going to have with this?
right.
Yeah.
And
I already have it with my mom, right?
and I thought that my friends dying was a result of the bad things I had done in life.
Ooh,
So I was like, if I didn't do these drugs, if I didn't sleep around, if I didn't do all those things, maybe she wouldn't have died,
Yeah.
is where my head went.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So you reach this new understanding of a spiritual practice in your life.
I did.
It's part of the psychic change.
Yeah.
And I've always heard that if you don't have a good spiritual foundation, there will come a time in sobriety when it's you and alcohol. And the only thing that's going to come in between that is your higher power.
Yep.
And if you don't have that, you're going to be defenseless.
Yeah.
Did you ever experience any kind of want to drink, or you're faced with something and there's an intervention almost by a higher power?
So my first year and a half, 2 years in the program, I had the want to drink every day. Like I was white knuckling it most days. Like I could not get rid of that obsession with it and that want, that thirst for it. And it was probably around my 2-year anniversary where I again prayed. I actually hit my knees and was like, God,
Enough.
I get that, I'm not a perfect person, but help me to feel relief. Help me to just not want the alcohol every day, all day, And it wasn't like a,
Right. I'll immediately remove that. No problem.
right. It wasn't like
Granted.
that.
It was the slow grind.
It was the slow grind, but I eventually got more comfortable with myself and found other people and other activities to give me that adrenaline rush, give me that thrill, give me
Hope.
yeah.
Give you what you need to be comfortable in your own skin.
Exactly. When I turned, what was I, 36 maybe, 36 or 37, on my birthday, a group of us, 10 of us, went skydiving. I had always wanted...
What is it with us alcoholics?
Count me out.
Yeah.
I think just even flying in a plane is enough of a risk. But jumping out of it.
I had always wanted to do it. And, the group of friends I was with were like, well,
They sober
we'll do
people?
it. Sober
Yeah,
people.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, well, we'll do it with you. And I was like, okay, let's do this, And, so a group of 10 of us, all sober, all different lengths of time in the rooms, some newer people, some people that had been there 20 plus years,
Wow. Yeah.
all went and jumped out of airplanes that day.
And how was it?
It was amazing. I actually ended up doing it a second time, a year after that, because it was the most amazing view I've ever seen. It was so peaceful.
Peaceful.
It was.
I'm having an anxiety attack now.
You're falling to earth.
Oh,
I get
so
that.
peaceful. Yeah.
I get
No,
that.
I understand what you're saying.
But when you
The rush of the air around
yeah,
you.
like the shoe opens and you're just gliding through the air.
Yeah.
That's the peaceful part, not the plummeting
Yeah.
to earth, you know? But it was a rush and it was amazing. And, you know, I have a video to look back on and
Right.
like relive it and, you know, but I think it was, you know, the people in the rooms that really got me through that first year and a half, 2 years, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, it was more like God was good, orderly direction at that point and not.
And the great outdoors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it was a good experience.
So you work your way through the rest of the steps with the sponsor.
I
right?
did. I actually worked my way through the steps with her first, and then she ended up moving further away, so I had to get a new sponsor. So I got a new sponsor and ended up going through the steps again with her.
Awesome.
Now, in your almost 10 years of sobriety, have you worked with other women?
I have. You know, I've had a couple sponsees, but they wanted someone to spend more time with them. You know, I have a full-time job, so I couldn't devote, like, you know, 110% into them, you know. So, you know, we found them other people, but that was, you know, I still was part of their experience.
Sure. Yeah, and that's the way it goes a lot of times is more than one person. I mean, you might have one official sponsor, but
Yeah.
really you become close with other people in the
team.
program. You know, for me, when I was in early sobriety, I spent more time with a guy that was getting sober with me than my sponsor. My sponsor was like my, you know, touch point. Like I would go to him for steps. I would go to him with issues, or we would touch base more.
Yeah.
This other guy was more of we'd spend hours together. We'd go to meetings every night. You know what I mean? And that it worked out great. You know, that sponsor is, like Brett always calls it, your Sherpa. This other guy was like climbing the mountain with me. He was part of my squad. But I always went back to the Sherpa for guidance.
Yeah,
You know?
and that was one of the biggest things that I learned because I've got 3 kids. You know, I've got a full-time job. I'm huge into scouts, so I'm busy. But one of the things, and this is a little bit of a plug, but Joe, the guy from Joe and Charlie, has a book on sponsorship that really kind of opened my eyes to what a sponsor really is and what should be. You know, as soon as people start wanting more of our time and being dependent on us, we're doing them a disservice.
Yeah.
Right? So whenever I do this, because I do, and I really hope you do again, but, you know, we can just lead the way, right? But they don't need us as much as they think they do. They need themselves. And that has actually worked really, really well. And
Yeah.
they've progressed better that way. They aren't asking for permission all the time to do things. And so, you know, maybe look into that a little bit
Yeah.
because it's huge, right? I mean,
I'm very open to
Yeah.
it, you know, very open to it.
Good. Yeah, I mean, you can even preface it with that. I'll sponsor you, but
Right.
you know, here's my situation.
Yeah.
And we'll try it. And if it
Right.
doesn't work for you, that's fine.
Absolutely.
If it works for you, that's fine. I'm not the only person in the world, and people do go through this program with multiple sponsors over courses
yeah.
of time. So
I just get vibes from you, so that's why I wanted to share that.
Yeah,
I don't
thank you.
normally tell people to do things, and I'm not doing that, right? I just
you better not.
I got vibes, man. I think you'd be really amazing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are at the end of our time
Already.
and we want to thank you so much for coming on the
thank you.
podcast, Stephanie.
I enjoyed
And until
it.
next time on our glorious podcast, I'm Mark.
I'm Brett.
I'm Stephanie.
As we wrap up another episode of the Glum Lot Podcast, we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you who tuned in today. Navigating the path to recovery from alcohol and other substances is a journey filled with challenges, triumphs, and self-discovery. Remember, we're not affiliated with Alcoholics Anonymous, but we're here to provide a safe space for open conversations about the complexities of recovery. Your stories, courage, and resilience inspire us and our listeners alike. If you or someone you know is on the transformative journey, know that you're not alone. Join us next time as we continue to explore the diverse facets of recovery. Until then, stay strong, stay connected, and remember that each day is a step towards a brighter, sober tomorrow. Thank you for being part of the Glum Lot community.